For the second time in 3 days, a bumper crowd has flooded into ANZ Stadium to see some of European football's biggest names take on the A-League's finest. Thursday was the Sky Blues. Tonight, it's Tony Popovic and the New Look Wanderers, who are on home turf to face an Arsenal side that have shuffled the deck and are ready to sign off from Sydney in style. It's Arsenal versus the Western Sydney Wanderers, exclusively live from ANZ Stadium on SBS Viceland. Hello and welcome to the World Game and to live Saturday night football. Alongside me again, SBS Chief Football Analyst Craig Foster and four-time National League champion Clint Bolton. Clint, Arsenal have been a class act since they arrived.
Hugely impressed with the way they've conducted themselves throughout this tour so far, and also off the back of a great performance on Thursday night. I've just loved their attitude. The attitude not only towards the way they conducted themselves with the fans, the corporates, but the way they approached the game the other night. So these tours happen, and the integrity of the match itself should always be at the centre of it.
Follows another off-season and another clear-out for the Wanderers.
I think Tony Popovic recruited really well this off-season. In fact, he's brought in Arciuli, of course, and we'll see him come off the bench, I'm sure, this evening. He's already got big raps on him, the way he's been training and integrating into the group. Of course, a pedigree out of La Liga. And if you consider that Tony Popovic already has a record of one of our most decorated and successful young coaches in terms of the length or the short length of his coaching career, throughout that time he hasn't had many top number 9. So if this guy fires, I think it's going to be a marvellous season for Wanderers fans.
Clint, Arsenal hit the ground running on Thursday night.
Absolutely. It was a case of wait and see with Arsenal. They haven't been out here for a long time. We've seen recent tours where teams maybe have, not really come with the right attitude. But Arsenal, from the start the other night, there was a clear intent to play at a good pace, a good intensity, put a lot of pressure on Sydney FC. Sydney FC didn't respond. That was a disappointing thing about Thursday night, but Arsenal were first class. Not only the first half performance, but when they had the changeover of all the 10 players, those 10 players that came on were exceptional.
Foz, Arsenal's youngsters were exceptional.
They really were. So Nelson, particularly the right wing back, only 17 years of age, really brilliant. Bramall was also very good. So it's an opportunity for Wenger to give them some experience. But what was nice is that he had still 7 of the experienced players in the team, and that's important. And then when he made all the changes just after half-time, we were all thinking, well, hang on a minute, you're not going to put on a whole young bunch here, but he demonstrated the depth in the squad. And most of the players that come on, once again, are household names. So it was great. I'm sure Graham Arnold was shaking his head at that moment thinking, wow, the strength in depth of these EPL squads is incredible. But overall, 2 very strong halves, 2 very strong teams, and an outstanding performance.
Well, speaking of changes, there's plenty for Arsenal. 11 to be exact. Record signing Alexander Lacazette will start on the front of the forward line, on the left of the forward line, should I say. Captain Lauren Koscielny returns in the heart of defence. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain will start in the centre of midfield. To the Wanderers, and marquee signing Oriol Riera is on the bench. New recruits Josh Risdon and Rolly Bonavazia make their club debuts. 18-year-old Abraham Majok starts up front. Foz, what have you made of the Wanderers signings?
Of the Wanderers? I think Thwaite coming in, although he starts on the bench tonight, I think he's a fantastic signing. Kusakami, of course, should be better this season than last. Already was a solid performer. Lustig has got wonderful ability, and I think under Tony Popovic's tutelage, he'll continue to grow. Melling they've brought in, I think he's strengthened extremely well. With experienced players, have got plenty of A-League games under their belt, but above all, I believe that if Tony Popovic finally, and by the way, I just found out this evening, actually, that Mark Bridge also re-signed only in the last couple of days. So Bridge is coming back to the club. Wanderers fans will be delighted. So that's news to all of us. But if both Bridge and Riera are able to fire, I think the rest of the A-League really need to watch out.
Clint, Riera has some pedigree.
Yeah, I think the key, just going on what Foz just said, the key to the Wanderers' success this season is going to be the foreign contingent. I do believe that Tony Popovic has got it wrong to a certain degree in previous seasons, particularly last year. When you look at Border at the back, the guy in the midfield who I can't quite remember.
Dimas, Andreu, the season before.
So I think just in recent times he hasn't got the foreign contingent right. But this year we get a good look at Oriol. Bonavazia comes in. So the success for me for the Wanderers this season is truly based on the recruitment of those foreign players.
Foz, the Wanderers number 9s have never really delivered other than Tommy Juric.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, in the first season, Dino Crescendo, I think, only scored a 1 league goal. And since then, of course, with respect to him, Pierre Vicari found it difficult. I think the style of football and the physical workload in the Wanderers team, I don't think it was to his liking, really. So trying to get that position right is absolutely critical to their success. And I keep saying with Tony Popovic, if he's been so successful to date, only a couple of seasons lower down, but several titles, Asian Champions League, without really, aside from Bridgie, without certainly one of the foreign players doing a Fornaroli, for instance, right? Becoming top scorer in the league. Without that, if he gets this right, then I think they're going to be the team to catch this year.
Well, let's hear from the Wanderers now, and coach Tony Popovic is talking to Matt Canellan.
Another big occasion for Australian football tonight. The boys excited, looking forward to getting out there?
Yeah, certainly excited. You know, they've prepared the best they can. It's our 3rd week of training, so we've had a few weeks together now, and yeah, they're certainly looking forward to the game.
Obviously a long pre-season in the A-League. They must be chomping at the bit to get out there and play some match football.
Yeah, it's a great game to have, as you say, in a 3-month-odd pre-season. Knowing you're playing against Arsenal, capacity crowd, fantastic side. So it's a good game to test ourselves and really show what we're trying to build here.
And what are you looking to try and get out of this first game of the pre-season?
Well, you know, it's against Arsenal, so we want to really put on a performance to showcase ourselves, the Wanderers, and also Australian football. You know, we're keen and determined to do that.
Thanks for your time and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Tony Popovic there, Clint. They've been training for 4 weeks now. Can they give the Gunners a red-hot crack tonight?
Oh, I believe they can. It's a different case if you ask me, can they win? Possibly not. But the thing is, I think we'll see a much better performance than we saw from Sydney FC on Thursday night. There's no doubt about that. They've been training a bit longer. All the talk from Tony Popovic in the media is he's red hot at this one. And when Tony Popovic says something, I believe it.
Well, thanks for now, boys. Kick-off just over 20 minutes away. But coming next, Arsenal legend Ray Parlour joins us as we look ahead to the Gunners and the Wanderers live on SBS. A snapshot of what this tour means to the tens of thousands of Arsenal fans who have turned out in Sydney over these last few days. And a special mention to the Sydney Arsenal Supporter Club, who have secured signed memorabilia from the tour, which will be auctioned off, with proceeds going to Beyond Blue to support those in the community battling depression. A fabulous cause and well done to all involved. Well, kick-off here in Sydney is just over 15 minutes away, and we're joined now by a very special guest, Gunners legend Ray Parlour. Ray, what have you made of this trip to Australia?
It's absolutely been brilliant. I think the lads themselves really can't believe how many supporters we got over here. I mean, the day we landed and probably 500 people were at the airport, outside the hotel every day, everywhere we've gone, it's been absolutely brilliant. So it's changed from my day, because we used to go to Europe, but you just don't realise how many supporters you've got around the world.
What do you believe is the expectations around the club this season, with Arsenal signing on for another couple of years and possibly the underachievement of the team last season?
Well, it wasn't good enough for Arsenal standard. Fifth in the league is not good enough. So I'm sure Arsene Wenger knows that. Obviously, the FA Cup they won, which is a big trophy. Obviously, you've got the record now in English football. But next season, they've got Lacazette now. Maybe another couple of signings might come still. And we're expecting much better next season.
Speaking of Lacazette, I think most people think he's coming in and would possibly play as a 9. The other night, Thursday night, he played on the left with Giroud. Tonight starts the same way. Do you believe that Arsenal might be thinking about playing both of them in the season?
Could be. He started as a winger as well. So a little bit like Henry. Henry started as a winger, who I played with. He can play centre forward as well, so it's options. That's what you need in a squad. You need where if Giroud's on form, then play him, because he's a handful. He's a good player. But Lacazette, obviously, what I saw last night, the other night against Sydney FC, was one chance, one goal. And probably some of the strikers in the Arsenal team have to have 4 chances to score 1. So it could be the difference.
It could be the man.
What about, talk to us about Wenger, Ray, will you? Because we've seen from abroad here all of the carry-on last season and the banners and all these things. I noticed that a number of his former players come out really in strong support of him. Nevertheless, he's under huge pressure last season. He's re-signed. What's your view on the whole saga?
Well, look, there's a time and a place for everybody when their time's up, but you always got to have a replacement. And if you looked around Europe, Obviously, the Simeone was mentioned, Allegri and people like that, but they all signed new contracts. But I think Wenger's still the man for the job, myself. He done wonders for my career. I know it's a long time ago, but I think the players trust him. But it's a massive season. Now, looking at the Premier League, when we used to win trophies, it's a lot easier. You know, Arsenal, Manchester United, probably the only teams who could win it.
Okay.
Now you've got Chelsea, Man City, all these better sides, so it's more difficult now.
Okay, so in terms of the team then, what is it that's been lacking in the last few years, and particularly last year, of course, was a very down year, not just in the EPL, but also in Europe?
A little bit of leadership. You know, when I looked at my teams, who I played in, Tony Adams, Martin Keown, Patrick Vieira, a lot of leaders there. So there's a couple of players who probably need to step up a little bit. Look at the team tonight. Xhaka, he finished the season really well. Ramsey, another one. Koscielny, all these guys have got to really say, look, we've got to believe in ourselves. And really put it in every single week. We saw the performance against Chelsea in the cup final. It was absolutely brilliant. So you've got to do that week in, week out if you're going to win the Premier League.
Ray, when Arsene came to the club in 1996, what did he change?
Well, we didn't know who he was, to be honest with you. It was a situation where David Dean at the time said this guy will take the club forward. And the training methods were fantastic. No disrespect to my other managers I played under, but always on the clock, always making your mind think, and it was brilliant. You know, everything was changing in football, in English football especially. So I think he brought something different to the whole situation, and he certainly got results, and that's the most important thing.
How's he developed over the 20-odd years? How's he improved?
Well, again, I think the Premier League's got much more tougher. You know, again, when we started winning trophies, 97, 98, going forward, it was a lot easier. I'm not saying it was hard, but what I'm saying is that Man City was in league below. Chelsea, Abramovich wasn't there. Liverpool wasn't as good as they were. Spurs wasn't as good. Everton are now, you know, it's a lot harder to win the league now, so it's difficult.
Ray, enough about Arsene. Let's talk about you. You played over 400 games for the club. Talk to us about your career at the Gunners.
Well, I was very lucky. I played in a very good team. And, you know, when you're playing with players like Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Tony Adams, it was amazing. I signed for Arsenal 11 years old, so I was always hoping one day you might get a first-team experience. And then you try and stay at top level as long as you can. So I was lucky to play probably 20 years under Arsenal, which was a great success. Won Premier League 3 times, 4 FA Cups, and then medals are so important. When you finish your career, it's not how much money you got, it's what medals you've got. So I'm very happy.
What have your impressions been of Australian football?
Well, it's been brilliant. I think Sydney the other day were very good. I mean, they kept going to the final whistle. They had a couple of chances as well. Could have equalised easy enough. But it's a really good time for us in England because it comes on about 9 or 10 in the morning. So I've watched a few games, and certainly I will carry on watching them because, you know, I love watching any sort of football, and it's going to hopefully develop and be like the MLS really, because that's developed so well, and I'm sure Australian football can be the same.
Well, thanks for joining us, Ray. We really appreciate it. OK, stick around. Kick-off here at ANZ is up next. This is Arsenal in Sydney, live on your home of football, the World Game. Welcome back to ANZ Stadium in Sydney. We have another bumper crowd of 80,000 in for the finale of the Arsenal tour. Foz and Clint, your predictions quickly.
As you can already hear, the buzz is around. I expect a similar game from Arsenal as we saw Thursday night, but I'm excited to see what the Wanderers dish up. Every off-season, there's a big changeover of players, and I'm excited to see some new faces tonight.
Yeah, a better prepared Wanderers team, obviously more time in training, up to a month now. So we expect more intensity in the game. I think they'll really go at Arsenal, and they'll have watched the other game. In the second half, a very young Sydney team put Arsenal under a lot of pressure. So I'm sure, and I'm hoping, in the first 15 minutes they really go press them. They saw that they could win some balls there. You saw Iredale the other night have a chance in the 6-yard box from winning the ball high. So let's hope Wanderers do that and really ask some questions of the Gunners tonight. They certainly have the quality to play through it, but it'd be nice to see them have to.
Thank you, Floss and Pete. We're ready for Arsenal and the Wanderers, and your commentators are former Socceroo Craig Moore and David Bashir.
Electric atmosphere at